Oconee Hill Cemetery is an old place, the resting place of many of Athens and Clark County's best-known citizens, since the county was created in 1801 and named after Revolutionary War hero Elijah Clark. The town of Athens was chartered in 1806, the name chosen to reflect its destiny as the seat of learning and enlightenment in the state, home of the University of Georgia. Across the street is the entrance to Sanford Stadium, home of the Georgia Bulldogs, the university's celebrated football team. On Saturdays in the fall, the stands are filled with over 80,000 football fans, many of whom feel a strong connection to Athens, having spent some of the best years of their lives as students here. The early Athenians who lie on Oconee Hill would have a hard time fathoming 80,000 visitors to Athens. The game of football was not invented until 1876, and the Georgia Bulldogs played their first game in 1892. When the century turned, there were just 300 students at the university. Not far from each other are the burial plots of two old Athens families, the Wares and the Lindens. Dr. Edward R. Ware was a prominent Athens physician who died in 1873. His grave is just about a mile as the crow flies from the brick house he built in 1850 and lived the rest of his days. Nearby is the family plot of Edward Linden, also a doctor, who bought the house in 1880 from Dr. Ware's children, and who lived there until his death in 1917. The Ware-Linden House is one of the few still standing from those days, a reminder of a time when downtown Athens was home to many stately residences, some occupying an entire city block, dirt roads, a thriving meat and vegetable marketplace, and of course, the University of Georgia campus. Today, the house is a beautifully restored house museum and gateway to the Linden House Arts Center.
Pardon me, sir. Margaret did not inform me that anyone was here. The mail has just come from the depot. It hasn't come in a whole week. How can I help you, sir? I don't believe we've met?
Yes, my name is John Clinton. This is Andy Carter. We were just giving a tour. I'm sorry, I was told that... I'm sorry, what was your name, sir?
Oh, I'm the proprietor here, Edward Ware. Who were you here to see?
You are Edward Ware.
Yes, sir, I am. How may I help you?
Well, sir, if you don't mind sparing a few minutes of your time to answer some questions.
Are you here from the newspaper or some such? Did Henry send you over here? I swear that friend of mine is always getting me into things. I am referring to my partner, Dr. Henry Hull, but that's none of your affair. Yes, I suppose I can sit down for a minute. Don't know how many answers I'll have for you, but we can try. Why don't we have a seat right in here?
Thank you, sir. This is a big honor.
Yes, my boy. Don't have very long. There are matters I need to attend to. Are we having our portrait made? Should I sit still?
Oh, no. Just ignore the camera. All right. Are you ready? Dr. Ware, could you tell us something about yourself and your family?
Well, I don't know why you want to hear that story. Well, I was a student here at the university, over from Augusta. I was raised in Augusta by my uncle's family after my father died. My uncle Nicholas Ware was a politician.
A local politician?
Oh, no, sir. He was a United States Senator. Before that, he was a representative of the Georgia State House and the mayor of Augusta. He was a big fish, thought quite a lot about himself. Good man, though, raised me. He built a very large house in Augusta that was the talk of the town. They called it Ware's Folly. I think they still call it that.
Yeah, they do. It's still there. It's an art institute on the National Register of Historic Places.
You don't say. Well, he built a house here, too, of a more reasonable size, just up the way a bit. When his sons and I came here to school, I studied medicine at the university and have been here ever since.
So you're a doctor by trade?
Oh, not anymore. I was in practice with my neighbor, Henry Hull, for about 10 years. Then I moved on to other things. After they moved Southern Mutual here to Athens, and that's an insurance company. I was busy with that and other business ventures.
Southern Mutual still exists?
Of course it does.
So I understand that you built this house in 1850 while you were serving as mayor of Athens.
It was a few years before that. Margaret needed more room for the children. We did some work on the house around 1850 when I was the intendant. We didn't call it mayor then. I was chosen to be the intendant of the town when the new charter was created. There were 7 of us wardens, and we had to vote on who would be the new intendant from amongst ourselves. The others chose me. We were all patsies for agreeing to serve, but I was the biggest patsy, apparently. I guess they thought I deserved it. I was the intendant for 4 years.
So, what were the duties of the intendant, Dr. Ware?
Mostly, a lot of arguing and trying to figure out how to get people to pay more taxes. We were trying to get a fire brigade and a firehouse set up. Every so often, we'd have a big fire around here, and there's only so much men with buckets can do. The Athens factory, our biggest factory, got to burning several times. And nobody had insurance then. It took years to rebuild. Our manufacturing cannot afford to shut down every few years just because we can't put out a fire quick enough. We voted and agreed to collect tax money for fire protection. And it happened, eventually. We got a fire engine, and we dug cisterns under Broad Street that runs in front of the campus, but that took a while. We had to have another big fire before we got those.
And so, where did you have your Athens Council meetings?
Oh, just right up the street here in the new town hall, right there on, oh, what do they call those streets? They just gave them all names and I can't keep them straight. Right there on Market and Lumpkin, I think it is. We used that town hall for everything once we built it. Meat market during the day and various entertainments in the evening, if you can call them that.
Market Street, renamed Washington Street.
What's that?
Nothing. Sorry, please continue.
When I was intendant, we built a powder house. It was high time for that. All these folks keeping guns and the ammunition in their homes, that's just dangerous. Athens was never called on, thankfully, to send soldiers to help fight the Mexicans. But we were ready.
The Mexican War, 1848.
And then there were the usual matters of morality and bad behavior, what to do about drunken men in the streets and houses of ill repute here and there. We voted on some new ordinances and got the poor marshal some help policing the streets. It was an irregular force, but it was a start. It was all we could afford, really.
So a part-time volunteer police force?
Not easy to get people to pay more taxes.
So there were a lot of changes happening while you were serving in Athens.
So many changes I couldn't keep up with them. We got gas lights in the streets and in some houses right before the war. Henry's brother and my good friend Asbury Hull was the first to put them in. Cost him $500. He always had to be the first. Other people had to wait until after the war for gas lights. And tough times, you know.
So you weren't called to serve in the war?
Oh, I was too old. I did have the dubious distinction of marching, if you can call it that, with the Thunderbolts, Athens Graybeard Brigade. We were the home guard. Lord help us. I think we carried more walking sticks and umbrellas than we did muskets. Oh, it was hard for Captain Poke Barrow to make us behave. Henry Hull gave him a time. The captain called us all to rally for inspection. I went, like I was supposed to, but Henry said the captain could find him at home and could come and inspect him there on his front porch between 10 and noon anytime he wanted. That was Henry.
Were you ever called to muster?
Oh, not really. I did take my turn guarding a bunch of Yankees over on the campus. We couldn't keep the women folk from coming by to stare at them, supposedly on their way to their prayer meetings. Why they wanted to look at that raggedy bunch of bluecoats, I don't know. But those no-goods certainly enjoyed the attention. Some of them presumed to exchange words with the ladies. Then I made them all lie down on the grass and take long naps. I wasn't going to listen to much talk from Yankee boys. My 2 boys, Bud and Patty, that is, William and Edward, both served in Athens Troop Artillery. Both made it back in one piece. I'm grateful for that.
So was Athens different after the war?
Oh, Lord, so different. The war ended slavery, and that turned everything every which way. There was so much disruption as Negroes had to find work and housing. Some of them stayed with the families as paid hands and servants. And those were the lucky ones. Others just didn't know what to do. Nobody was quite sure what to do. The end of the war also brought a new kind of student to the university. It wasn't just the sons of old prominent families. The state paid for tuition and books for our soldier boys to thank them for their service, so just about anybody could come. And the university began to offer studies in agriculture. Now that caused quite a ruckus. Some folks thought the university should be more refined than to teach farming. Yes, the ground sure shifted beneath our feet during the war, and after it was over, we found ourselves on a more common plane. Well-to-do folks had nothing left, and poor whites and Negroes had opportunity. Nothing was as it had been before. Still, we were glad the war was over.
That we were. That we were. Hello, gentlemen. You mind if I join you?
Are you having your portrait made? Dr. Ware, you should know better.
This young man, Mr. Clinton, and I were just talking over old times. And this man, Mr. Carter, well, I am not sure what he is doing.
Edward Linden, pleased to meet you.
You're Edward Linden.
I am. I bought this place when this gentleman's family sold it in 1880. But we've been through all that, haven't we, Dr. Ware?
We have, Doctor, that's for sure.
I have a new joke for you. Remind me later.
Okay, so the two of you know each other. How is that? Okay, well, so you studied medicine as well. Is that right?
I did. Trained as a surgeon. I was studying in Germany when we seceded, and I came back to enlist. My family, the Smiths, come from in Coweta County, Noonan.
So you're an Army doctor?
Dr. Sawbones.
Oh, a title I was glad to relinquish. I performed enough surgery in that war to last a lifetime. I was at the crater at Petersburg.
Bless you, son. I do not envy you that experience. A hero we have right here.
Oh, hush now. When I came back from Noonan after the war, I gave up surgery and took up the apothecary's trade. When I moved to Athens, I bought Dr. William King's shop from him. He was the mayor of Athens, too, and practiced botanical medicine there for a while. Then other business interests began to take most of my time.
Dr. William King was a fine man, one of Athens' most respected citizens.
Indeed he was. His son-in-law, Henry Grady, Mary Julia, you remember, was one of the best-known voices in the newspaper business, the Atlanta Constitution. The voice of the New South, they called him.
We needed a new voice, that's for sure. Henry Grady, a fine boy, very talented young man. Family lived just over here on Prince Street. Lost his father in the war.
At Petersburg.
That's right, son. It was Petersburg.
Well, the house is still there. The Taylor Grady house. Henry Grady is well remembered. Well, so you bought Dr. King's drugstore from him when you moved to Athens, and you had other business concerns as well. What were those?
I had a millwork company. There was a fever for building going on in Athens in the years after the war. Whole neighborhoods were going up, some with streetcars that ran on electricity.
Electricity?
Yes, sir. Those streetcars really changed Athens. The Athens Park and Improvement Company cleared the land just west of here, 300 acres, and put in the boulevard with a car running down the middle of it.
Would have liked to have seen that electricity. Are you joking me?
You just missed it, my friend. And public schools were going up too, starting in 1885. Now, Athens had a lot of fine private schools, of course, for boys and girls, but we finally built some public schools, and my children attended them. My boys attended the Market Street School. Well, now it's the Washington Street School. And they built an identical school building, the Baxter Street School for Negroes. Now we knew the New South was taking a foot.
So it sounds like there was a lot of progress after the war when you came to Athens.
Yes, I came at a good time when things had settled down a bit. And I would say there was progress, but a lot of folks disagreed about the meaning of that word. You see, in the years before public schools opened, there was a big fight in the city about prohibition. Too many men, ruined by drink, spending all they had in the bar rooms around town, not to mention the young boys falling down on Broad Street on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, nothing's changed there.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, nothing. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Well, the county voted in prohibition in 1885. Only druggists could sell liquor, and only with a doctor's prescription.
And that's when you made out like a bandit.
The citizens of Athens developed all kinds of new ailments, that's for certain. Pyrohydropathic treatments were in great demand.
Pyrohydropathic.
When only fire water will cure what ails you.
I see.
Well, prohibition did not seem to solve the problems. Blind tigers soon sprung up everywhere.
Blind tigers.
Home stills. Folks everywhere perfecting their own concoctions, or not perfecting them, was more the reality. And then, only the respectable, law-abiding blue blood citizens could not get a drink. So they formed the Law and Order Society. Now that sounds nice, doesn't it? A noble group of citizens determined to return the right of drunkenness to respectable people. So they put in the liquor dispensary, the first in the country.
Now, and what was that?
Well, the city ran it, and the liquors were shipped in all pure. We were the first in the nation to do it. University boys had to show a letter from the chancellor in order to buy anything. Athens folk started out thinking it was a good idea. Poor old Macon Johnson was a good Baptist, working for Hodgson Brothers in dry goods. His own pastor encouraged him to take the job as manager of the dispensary when they asked him to do it. But after a few years went by, the Baptists kind of forgot about all that and decided that poor Macon was the primary reason for all the vice in town. And they decided to expel him from the church. A man, just doing his job.
Now, where was the dispensary?
On Broad Street, east of Thomas Street. Convenient to the railway station. Convenient and legal gin for Athens' finest citizens.
That's right where the news building is now.
Yes, Athens remained lively throughout our little experiment with prohibition. Then, the government ensured we could retain our liquid bonamy while they collected the tax revenue.
Brilliant.
Yes, I wish we'd thought of that.
Well, just across Thomas Street from the dispensary and across Broad Street from the Franklin House was Dupree Hall, which brought in all kinds of touring acts, singers, and ventriloquists.
It's right where the BB&T Bank is now.
I recall when Colonel Dupree had it built. It was the first sign that Athens was coming back after the war. We were sure glad to see it go up.
And then they put in a skating rink on the second floor. And that brought as many spectators as skaters.
Roller skating was a spectator sport in 1875.
It seemed a little dangerous at the time. We didn't have football yet. My daughter, Mazel, used to love to skate, and I had to allow it. She loved it so much. She also loved any kind of theatrical event at Dupree Hall and at the new Athens Opera House that went up on Washington Street a few years later. I would escort her and my nieces from time to time, and it was all I could do to keep her from running away with whatever troupe was playing in town.
She was a performer?
My Mazel was very theatrical as a young lady and had a beautiful singing voice. She performed in several entertainments at school, and she and her cousins were always conniving some sort of entertainment to put on for the family. They would dress up and rehearse in this little playhouse with a stained glass window we had out front. Then the family would duly assemble on the steps and watch whatever they had come up with. Oh, they had a time.
So some of your family moved to Athens from Noonan. Some cousins?
My brother, Andrew Jackson Linden, we called him Jack, and his family lived nearby. They had 2 boys and 3 little girls, and we had 3 boys and then Mazel. Now, Mazel was our only girl, so we were glad she had some girl cousins to play with. And they mostly got along, although sometimes there were some skirmishes about who was in charge. Jack's daughter, Mary, was a few years younger than Mazel, but she was a force to be reckoned with.
Mary Linden. Mary Linden Hall.
Hall? No, she never married. Too busy educating herself. That niece of mine was the first woman to be awarded a master's degree from the University of Georgia, and they didn't even admit women. Don't ask me how she managed that. She was sharp, no doubt about it.
A master's degree? How about that?
She went on to become the first dean of women at the university. They named a residence hall after her, Mary Linden Hall.
Is that right, son? Now, how would you know that?
And to think that she got her start dreaming up tea parties in a playhouse with a stained glass window overlooking downtown Athens. Hey, whoa, where'd they go? Where did they go?
I don't know. I was on you.
Okay, that did just happen, right?
Let's see what we've got. Oh, wow. Wow. Man.
That did just happen, though, right? Right?
What was that joke you had for me?
Oh, good. Yes. A soldier is called up for duty and asks his sweetheart if she'll wait for him. Well, she's not so sure, so he tells her that he will write her a letter every single day, which he does. When the war's over, he comes back, and he hears from the townfolk that she's married another man. Well, I wrote her a letter every day. She received a letter from me every day. Who'd she marry? The postman. Your turn, my friend.
Oh, Lord. Give me a minute.